In this lesson, we're going to show a little bit about how to create a push-through letter with EnRoute software. And a push-through letter is when you're going to have some letter being pushed through an inlay or an open hole in another part. And a typical application might be when you have a piece of acrylic that's half-inch thick, clear acrylic, and you would have a thin aluminum face, and you would then cut a piece of acrylic or a letter so that it would push through the face, but there would be a little bit of a lip left around the outside of the part to keep it from going all the way through. And in this case, we're going to be involved putting male and female parts together. So we'll start off, and we have a plate size here of 24 inches by 24 inches. So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to have 0.5 be the material thickness, and this is going to represent the thickness of the acrylic. Now let's just bring in some text here, and I'll bring in Bookman Old Style, which creates a nice stroke here, and I'm going to type in EnRoute software. So we'll just put ES here just to bring some text on screen, and I'm just going to resize this. I see always an update of the height here. Now we'll just make it about 11.5 inches, a little over that. Now I'm going to go to the text tool here and hold down on that, and then say convert this text objects to curves. So now we have a couple of shapes on screen. Now I'll do this so that we have, first of all, a layer for our acrylic, and we'll do another one. We'll have a layer here for the aluminum. Alright, and we have there acrylic and aluminum, and let's just put this right in the middle of our sheet. Make that just a little bit smaller and center that here. Okay, so this is going to be our positive acrylic. We're going to do a copy for this and put this on the active layer. So now we have this, and we would put a frame or something around the outside of that. So it's going to be a push through where we have a border here with some material, and these would be holes cut out of that center part. Alright, and we'll go ahead and maybe just center this right there as well. Hit by Control 5 and center it in the plate. So now we'll have two layers. We have aluminum and acrylic. Now the acrylic layer, I'm going to come here and I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so I can see this, and go to my toolpath menu and go to routing offset. Now we have this already as a strategy I can use where I've saved this previously, but we'll go through here and describe what we're going to do. We're going to go down to the end mills, which is my blue color here, and I'm going to select my 1/4 inch end mill. And different tools can be used, but we're going to use the same tool here to make this easy. And I'm going to use this tool twice. The first time will be a rough tool. The second time will be a clean tool. The clean tool will always be closest to the object, so that's going to create our shoulder. The clean tool will push the rough tool out, and so the rough tool will still cut things out, and the clean tool width becomes the width of the shoulder. So if we have 0.5 acrylic, let's say we're going to cut 0.51 for the rough tool, and then the clean tool we're going to not quite cut all the way through. We're going to cut 0.45 inches deep here. That's going to leave a lip of 0.05 inches. Now we'll come here and take a look at a few of the parameters. We might want to do a weld offsets here because these letters are close together. So I imagine that we're going to have some connecting of these parts. So we do want to weld the offsets. And if I'm going to push this through another part, I'm going to do an inlay. So I'm going to come here and say 0.0, and you can use different values for different materials. I'm going to say 0.01 for this, and this is the total inlay gap. So it's going to put 0.005 on the male part and 0.005 in the female part. When you are assigning the gap, you're doing the total gap. You do not treat them independently. Now that we have our parameters set, we'll go up here and look at some cut definition, and we're just going to set our feeds and speeds here. Now based on particular type of tool and the chip load that it might have. So we'll just put some kind of generic values in here. And now for my clean tool, the clean tool, remember, is going to push out the rough tool. So I'm going to be concerned about the width here, and how much material do I want it to leave. So I'm going to make it a 1/4 inch width, and this is a shoulder, so I'm going to click shoulder. So I know that in addition to this letter here, I'm going to have a 1/4 inch of material cleared out that is going to become the little shoulder that is going to keep my acrylic from pushing through. Now again, we'll put some feed rate values in here. And we can hit OK. So we have our feed rates here, our depths were assigned. We're just cutting this one all the way through. The other one's not going to go all the way through. One last thing is we want to do our clean pass before we do the cutout. So we'll do clean first, cutout second within the routing offset strategy. And we have a 0.01 gap, remember, for our margin. Now I'll come here and hit OK. And we did just connect right here where these two parts were close enough together to touch. So now what I will do is, if I zoom in here, you can see that the green part, if I hit F9, it will paint it with the width of material it's going to remove. So this green represents my push-through shoulder, and the blue represents where it's going to be cut out. And it's just going to touch right here. Now when it comes time to do the pocketing, we are going to take these parts, and in this case we're going to use also an offset. It's also going to be a rough cut, but we're not going to cut all the, we're not going to have a clean pass here. There's no shoulder. We are going to do an inlay, and we're going to, we can keep weld offsets checked. It's not going to weld those because they're not going to be touching on the inside when we do that hole. And the material here, let's just say it's going to be 0.060 aluminum, so we'll put 0.07 here. Now if you're doing aluminum, you most likely will be doing an entry exit. So I'll come here and do maybe a line entry, 1 inch, 3 degrees, 3D line, inch, 3 degrees, 3D line. So a little bit different here because we're going to have that inlay, but the entry exit, and we are going to keep the inlay. When we hit OK here, we'll see that we're going to start off that line a little bit, but this is going to create the outer part and put some inlay radius that's going to match our other male part. And we see here the inlay gap of 0.005. It's making this hole just a little bit bigger for that inlay gap. And if we have both of these parts in the same spot, which I did on purpose and didn't move them around, we should be able to turn on both layers and see that everything's going to fit together without any white gaps or any white spaces indicating a gap. So here would be our male part, and let's take both of these here and just move them to the lower left hand corner of the plate. Fit plate to selection, then I'll just kind of match everything up there. But here we have our male push through part, which is got a little radius on the outside corners here, as you can see, and we have our parts, which will be the female part because we are pushing through this internal part here. And this would be how you would go about creating both the face plate and the male parts of a push-through letter. Now, of course, one of the nice things about EnRoute is that once you have something, and say in this case we have a toolpath that works well for a particular type of application, a push-through letter, we can take this information and save it and make it easy to apply to other shapes in the same circumstance. So here I'm going to take this routing offset that has these multiple tools in this particular cut order. I'm going to hit Save As, and let's choose an existing name here, Save As Push Through, and I'm going to hit Yes. So now I have come and I've saved this, and if I have another type of a shape I might be working on, let's just come in here and bring in a 2D geometry, and now I wanted to do this particular shape as a push-through letter, and I wanted to use that same type of toolpath, and of course EnRoute will remember here the last things we've used, but we can clear all this out and uncheck all these parameters. If we come back in here and now say we want to use the push-through strategy, it remembers all the parameters and the feed rates and all the other variables, and then we can just come and hit apply and not have to go through applying all those settings again. And now we would have a push through on this particular shape that we could just as easily do, and we can also make that take place for the front part of that, which is the mail inlay part. So we're going to go edit this toolpath, save as, and we'll call this push through, and this is actually the female part. Now we've got these parameters saved, and they could easily be recalled just by selecting them from the list here and hitting OK. So that makes it, once you have these things, the toolpaths doing the things that you want, you can save those and reuse them quite easily.